Hey everyone, it's Roland Wright, and I'm back again with another Exodus box opening video. This will be another Set 5 booster box. This box isn't from the same case as far as I know, so our odds of getting a secret rare aren't necessarily any higher, but here's hoping. Let's jump into it. So once again, just like last time, if you're not familiar, there's 12 packs in a box. Each pack is going to have 5 cards. 3 of them are guaranteed to be common. 1 of them is guaranteed to be uncommon, and then 1 of them will be a foil card. So let's see what we get from pack number 1. We're going to get a Decaying Desert Rose, Chronic Collision, Waterfall Evorgnob, a foil Chains of an Ancient One, of the Ancient Ones. This is our foil uncommon, and then an Encased Rock as our uncommon. Alright, so in this pack we got a Waterfall Hydra, Valkron, Frozen Fortitude, and nice, we got the new Rare Energy card. Perfect card to pull for me, since I like to collect them. Then we got a Violent Vividicta as our uncommon. Alright, next pack. We got a Stalactite Hasp, Project Oblivion, Guild Leader Symposium, and a Madness Settles for our foil rare. Your life points become 3. Your Chronos don't lose energy this turn unless by your own card effects or abilities, and you can't resolve effects or abilities that switch life points with your opponent for the rest of the game. So this is really, really good with a new secret rare card called Anathema, as it effectively prevents you from having your life points changed to 3, which is really good. But besides that, this is pretty decent with most Chronos. It's an okay card. It's not really that amazing, but like I said, with Anathema, it's pretty solid. And then for our uncommon, we got Rosebound Deterrence. Alright, next pack. We got a Tarnished Wood Cypress, Dead of Night, Dangerous Cannoneer Palashrumis, and a full uncommon Wereweather Spectre. And a uncommon Chains of the Ancient One. Alright, next pack. Let's get a Cease to Exist, Steam Shaft Eidolon, Slithering Altar Shade, and we got a rare Roaming Skyscraper Langus. This is probably one of the better rares in the set. It's really good with reveal. It's a rare tree folk creature. When this creature enters play, or whenever it attacks, you may reveal the top and bottom card of your main deck and draw 1 energy. So on the turn it's summoned and it attacks, you're essentially drawing 2 energy on top of any reveal triggers you hit from top or bottom. Now, when I've played with this card, sometimes I don't get any hits, but I'm still drawing potentially 2 energy that turn, which is pretty darn good. So really, really good card, highly sought after by a lot of players. This is probably going to go for a pretty decent value this season. And then our uncommon is going to be a Sign of the Crow. All right, next pack. We got another Tarnished Wood Cypress, Chronic Collision, Fractured Portals, and a secret rare, Time Glypha, Eventide Second Key. Oh, that is so good to pull. Yeah, wow. Look at that beautiful card. And it has some very kind of modest textures to it. So the uncommon behind it is another Wereweather Spectre. So Time Glypha. Time Glypha is kind of a 2-effect creature in a way. So the first effect is this creature may be summoned from your hand during any phase on any player's turn. While this creature is on the field, you can conduct your phases of a turn in any order, but each phase can still only be entered once. So super good card. Essentially, this guy can just, like it says, be summoned in at any time. If you've played Magic the Gathering, this is very akin to something like Flash, right? So essentially, you can play this on your opponent's end phase, going into your next turn, so then you can start kind of rearranging how your turn works. This is really good against freeze decks, since you can start your turn with the end phase and unfreeze your cards. If you're suspicious that maybe your opponent has a vortex, you can potentially skip your draw phase and save that for later, so you can attack and do all that stuff before your opponent gets new answers in their hand, stuff like that. It's important to note, however, so there's start turn, draw phase, energy phase, creature phase, combat phase, and then end phase, and then end turn. So end turn is different than end phase. Keep that in mind. So really happy to pull this. This makes my 5th secret rare out of 18 boxes. Yeah, 18 boxes, which is a pretty good kind of distribution. That's it's almost 1 in 4. It's almost 1 in 4, which is essentially what their kind of which is what their distribution is. Like if you get a booster case of 12 booster boxes, you have a 1 in 4 chance of, well, it has 3 secret rares guaranteed, right? So it's 1 in 4, right? I hadn't been doing so hot because I'd opened 17 cases and only pulled 4 secrets, which isn't very good. You're starting to run out of spots. So very nice right before we hit box number 20. So there you go, Time Glypha. Nice. All right, next pack. Now keep in mind, we cannot, as far as I know, I'm pretty solid they haven't changed this, but we literally cannot pull a secret rare the rest of this box. But we can still hopefully get some pretty solid rares. Maybe some more pink energy. I'd love to get those energy. Another Stalactite Hasp. Another Steam Shaft Eidolon. I said this in the last video, but this is probably one of my favorite commons in the set. A Valcrow. This is also a really good looking card. This is like a new crow archetype, crow faction. Frigid Lightning Well. This creature may bypass entirely frozen blank piles of energy and attack your opponent's life points directly, even if they have creatures in play. So the idea here is if your opponent has, let's say, a pile of 1 energy in play, and there's no creatures on it, and they have 2 creatures off to the side, all I need to do is freeze that pile of 1 energy, and now this guy can attack my opponent directly. The idea is that he's like skating along that energy. It's like a bridge to my opponent's life. That's a strategy. It makes it kind of like a Mistry that can still stick around and be defensive. We'll see if it sees any play. Right now, people aren't super hot on this card. Fun fact, this card seems to be like miscut in almost every... This one isn't too bad, but a lot of the times it's like scooched really far over to the right, which is pretty interesting. And then for our uncommon, we got a Reluctant Crown Jewel. All right, next pack. I'd really like to see a Convoluted Coalescence. That's a really popular card right now, and I'm all out of Exodus. I only pulled 1 in all my booster boxes. Tarnished Wood Cypress, Chronic Collision, Fractured Portals, a Dimension Ruin. This isn't too bad. This is still a pretty good card. All creature types except Chrono deal 1 less damage during battle this turn, and then you may destroy 1 energy in play. So this is a really solid card if you're running a Chrono deck, because essentially if your opponent's not running Chronos, then they're going to be a lot weaker when they're battling your creatures. But even worse is like the fact that you can also pop an energy. So on like turn 1, if they put a creature in a pile of 2, and they try to attack one of your Chronos, they effectively do no damage, because you'll destroy one of those energies and reduce the damage they deal by 1, so they end up dealing nothing. This card obviously falls off if you're playing against someone else who is using Chronos. And then at the end of the day, it just isn't like an amazing card. One thing to note, though, is that this is a May effect, which is nice, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you have to destroy your own energy, right? Like if your opponent finds a way to pay with all their energy or something like that, and you have to destroy yours, it's nice that this is a May effect. Also a really cool card. This goes really well with something like Slipstream, which forces your opponent's creatures to battle you when they're summoned. And then we have another Crocoit Creation. I called it Crokite last time, but then when I was looking over it again, I realized that there's an OI instead of just an I. All right, next pack. We have a Cease to Exist, Malevolent Mirage, Frozen Fortitude, and a Rose-Bound Deterrence. Very nice as our foil uncommon. This is an interesting card. So far, nobody's really talked about it at all, but I don't know. In a way, maybe like a reveal deck where you're going to have just a ton of excess energy, especially in hand. This is a good way to kind of like, even if you're getting Vortex, you're still getting some value out of what you do have in play. It's an interesting card. I'm curious to see if players find a way to really capitalize on it or not. And then for our uncommon, a Storm Shift Obscurity. Okay, we got 3 more packs left. All right, our next pack is going to be a Dimensional Rupture, Dead of Night, Guild Leader Symposium, and a Chronological Relapse. This is one of my favorite cards in the set. This is something that I think a lot of players aren't talking about, and they really should be. If you have 3 or less life points, you can target a Symmetry card in any player's graveyard and play it immediately, but you still have to pay any costs associated with it. Really, really good, because this effectively means you can have 4 copies of any Symmetry, and that's like super good. There are a lot of times where my opponent sees that I have a Cove, or maybe even both Coves in grave, and they think they're safe, and I can just throw this out there and really kind of throw them for a loop. Super good card. I mean, even defensively, I might have both Chains in grave, or I might not just have a Chains in hand. I can play this to pull out a Chains. If my opponent's going to deck recycle, I can play this and play their own Chains, so now their Chains won't get deck recycled with them, and I'm protected for the turn. This is a super good card. This is best paired with a Silent Irregularity, since its Afterthought nullifies any life point requirements, so I wouldn't have to worry about this 3 life points or less part. But this also does work with something like Madness Settles, since Madness Settles will set you down to 3 life. And then we got a Royal Resurgence as our uncommon. All right, next pack. We got Anthem of Humanity, Sandblasted Source, Dangerous Cannoneer Palshroomus, and another rare. We pulled the Eroda, the Flickering Facade. Now, this is a pretty cool rare to pull in general, like if you're a new player, because you only need 1 copy of him, so you don't have to worry about grinding through packs to pull another one. Same with trades. If you want to trade someone for an Eroda, you just only need 1 copy. And because it's only 1 copy, it's in general, like a card that requires only 1 copy is generally going to go for less than cards that need 2 because the demand is lower. Now, as far as Eroda himself, the tricky thing is he really isn't very good without his secret rare counterpart, which is Devourer of Worlds. So until you really get that, it's kind of hard to look at an Eroda deck as being viable, but still a really interesting card. So essentially, you can only have 1 copy of him in your deck. This is the first card that kind of requires that, but there's another one in this set that does as well. That's his secret rare version. When this card would leave your main deck, put it face up beneath your main deck instead, and attach 1 energy from your field to it at the end of each turn. So that's each player's turn, by the way. When 0 cards remain in your main deck, summon it along with all energy attached. So what's interesting about this is this will kind of somewhat interrupt the draw phase a little bit. It goes in the stack in the draw phase. Now, you can do something like Sign of the Crow, look for this card, say I'm going to pull it out, but because this effect says it goes to the bottom instead, it'll go to the bottom of your deck, and now your Sign of the Crow gets to choose a different card to pull in. Another thing to keep in mind is, like I said, it attaches an energy from your field to it at the end of each turn. So you have to feed him at the end of your turn, at the end of your opponent's turn, at the end of your turn, at the end of your opponent's turn. He's an energy hog. He's super hungry for energy. So make sure when you're building a deck with this guy, you have ways to generate consistent energy, whether that be something like a Flashfire Nebula Haze, who comes in and generates energy every time he summons and attacks, or even just simple cards like Leech and Glimpse. Definitely make sure you're running stuff like that because you got to keep them fed. And then we have Unsound Abstraction for our uncommon card. All right, last pack. We've done really well this pack. We pulled only 3 foil uncommons. So let's see if we can keep that going. All right, so we got a Infected Vanadite Lancer, Red-Eye Flight. By the way, Red-Eye Flight is one of the few cards that kind of counter Afterthoughts, but it's not very good. This and Dead of Night are the 2 low rarity cards that counter Afterthoughts, but you're not really going to see them played that much. Slithering Altershade, and another rare, a Smokestream, the Perfect Mimicry. So this is a Chrono, so it has a creature ability and an Afterthought. So the creature ability is while this creature's on your field, or while the creature's on the field, whenever an opposing creature enters play, you may force it to immediately battle this creature. So that's really good. This interrupts summon effects. So if my opponent summons a creature, I can force it to battle this first before the summon effect goes off. And so if this kills the creature, the summon effect never goes off. So in a way, this kind of forces your opponent not to summon until they have cards to answer for this, like unsummon and reversion and stuff like that. And like I said, this goes really well with Madness Settles since it prevents it from losing energy. So yeah, pretty good creature ability. As far as its Afterthought, your opponent can't cause more than one of your Afterthoughts to leave play at a time. This is okay. It's not that amazing because the only card that really like nukes the Afterthought zone is Eventide Sword. So this card is really only useful if you're going against opponents that have Eventide Sword. If you're afraid of them potentially pulling Eventide Sword or running Eventide Sword, then yeah, you might use this. Like if you're building a deck that's reliant on having permanent Afterthoughts out, you definitely want to run this guy. And his creature ability is pretty good too. So the only thing remaining, and then we also pulled a cryogenic criterion. The only thing remaining is our box hopper. So as I said in the previous video, there's 3 cards in here. We have the permanent persistent box hopper card, which is now a box hopper rare. And that's going to be End of the Rift. Draw an energy. If you have equal or less life points than your opponent, target a Vortex Symmetry card in play and negate its effect and destroy it. It's an okay card. But then we have our foil card. This could have been a foil rare. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But it was a really good uncommon card, and that's Treeforge Boardroom. Pay a life point. Each player on your team may reveal the top and bottom card of their main deck or one card in hand, then draw 1 energy. This card is super good. This card is really, really good. This is essentially a symmetry version of Tanglewood Snag, but even better than that. It's just really, really good. And to get a foil of it, it's always nice. And then the third card is just a rulings card on how Afterthoughts work. So, and then of course there's a URL there if you want to go see for further information. And there you go, guys. That was this box. So yeah, we pulled some really good cards. We pulled a lot of rares. And then we also pulled a time glyph. Amazing. All right, well, thanks for joining me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.